Hi, welcome to Neil's Prose. This is a fictional story about the ups and downs of a long term relationship. I call it The Distance Between Them. If you enjoy the piece, or even if you don't, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. So, for your enjoyment, The Distance Between Them. Frank stood at the edge of the lake and peered out at the three rafts in the distance. The rafts had been set up at intervals to accommodate swimmers of different levels. The first thing Frank decided, which he never should have decided, was to go for the furthest raft. He was not a particularly strong swimmer. His wife Paula, however, had once been an Olympic hopeful, and Frank's ego would not allow him to consider any raft but the last. While Frank was making his decision, Paula was stretched out in the sun about 50 feet from shore. Knowing her husband as well as she did, she knew exactly what he was contemplating. As far as she was concerned, he could try swimming the 2 miles across to the opposite shore. If he went down, he went down. Still, appearances mattered. She strolled to the water's edge and stood behind him. If you're thinking about the last raft, you might want to reconsider. It's pretty far. At least the life insurance is paid up, she thought. Frank turned to look. She was standing akimbo with all the attitude that the pose implied, and which was emblematic of the power struggle within their marriage. The pose made him even more determined. "Watch me," he said with a smile and a confidence that belied his true feelings. Frank dove into the lake and started swimming, maintaining a nice, strong stroke as he glided past the first raft. As he neared the second, discretion briefly suggested introducing itself, and he considered climbing aboard. But Paula was watching. Frank pressed on. It was a mistake. He tired. His stroke began to lose its rhythm and efficiency. It shortened, hands slapping the water instead of slicing into it, causing his stroke to be shallow and rushed. His breathing grew more urgent as he lifted his head higher to gasp for air, causing his hips and legs to sink and drag beneath him. Frank was right. Paula was watching, as were the others gathered along the shore. She faced the dilemma: save his ass, or ignore what everyone plainly saw, and then spend the rest of her life answering questions from friends and family. "You're an Olympic swimmer. How could you not help your husband?" She could protest the distinction: Olympic hopeful, not Olympic swimmer. But she knew it was a distinction without a difference and wouldn't hold water. Paula almost smiled at her pun, but was ever mindful of being watched. Off she went, diving into the lake not as a swimmer, but as someone returning to her origins. She transversed the first 50 feet underwater before rising and slicing through the water like silk. Her arms entered sharply, the pull strong, the kick steady, her breathing measured and controlled, past the first raft, past the second, halfway to the third, when disaster struck. It began in the left hamstring. The muscle seized instantly, turning the leg rigid and useless. Paula's beautiful stroke unraveled at once. Her kick vanished as the leg jerked spasmodically beneath her. She tried to keep her head above water while stretching the cramping muscle, clawing forward with her arms and right leg, but the compensation triggered a chain reaction. The right leg seized next. Paula knew immediately it was over. She fought to tread water with her arms alone, but the water that moments earlier had seemed to support her now felt heavy and intent on pulling her down. As her eyes slipped below the surface for the last time, she saw Frank ahead of her, lifting himself onto the third raft and collapsing face down across it. He did it, she thought, and oddly felt very proud. Then Frank turned. Seeing Paula disappear beneath the water, he shouted, "I need you." Words Paula had not heard from Frank in years. And unless words travel through water, she wouldn't hear them now either. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for listening.